Welcome into Stone Cold Stros. I'm Brandon Strange with Charlie Palumbo and Josh Jordan. Follow them on X at Palumbo and at Josh Jordan 975 and read their work on sportsmap.com. On today's episode, Bregman watch drags on and the talking heads have a lot to say about it. These three talking heads will give you our thoughts. Has Dana Brown found another chip to put in the middle of his game of guts poker? You be the judge. And we discuss some of the fallout from the Ryan Pressly trade. Before we get going, just a reminder to please click like on the video if you want to see more off-season content. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. Be sure to click the bell for notifications so you know as soon as new content drops. And if you're on the go, we're on all your favorite podcast apps like Apple and Spotify. Just search Stone Cold Stros. Gents, it's the A block on the show. So you know what that means. It's time to check in on Breggy Watch. He's right there, Charlie. He's right there. You've almost got him in your sights. No movement since our last show, but that hasn't stopped rumors and reports. I'm going to go through them and then have you guys react to them. My favorite commentary came from Jeff Passan, who's made headlines recently publicly shaming the Yankees for bemoaning the money that the Dodgers are spending. He thinks Bregman's a good fit in New York since they need infield help. That's obviously known. But the case that he made for Bregman was funny because he said he has playoff experience, he's a solid defender, and a good base runner. Charlie would drop a Meatloaf reference here and say that 2 out of 3 ain't bad. John Heyman says that the longer this goes on, it's between the Cubs and Astros, to which he gives Houston the slight edge. Bob Nightingale says that Houston's original offer is still on the table, but that Toronto also has a offer in that ballpark that's out there, but says that the Astros aren't intimidated by anything less than $180 million, considering the tax ramifications. The Red Sox are reportedly still interested, but not interested in a long-term deal. A.J. Brzezinski said on his show that he's a little confused by the Bregman rumors that Breggy is possibly interested in a deal with an early opt-out that would allow Breggy to get back into free agency. He just feels like it's not really smart considering that there are good offers on the table right now. And given Bregman's age and this at this point in his career, probably not the safest thing to expose himself back to free agency. Okay, that was a lot of me talking and to say what other people said. So what do you guys think about all that? And where do you think we're at in this process with Bregman?
Can we start calling it Bregtigue, as in fatigue? Alex, Scotty, stop pouting. Get off the pot. Pick a team. Let's go here. As we have discussed ad nauseum, or to some ad nausea at this point, 6/156, more than fair. Best offer out there, all things considered, for a 31, basically opening day, year-old player who was last an all-star in 2019, was last a great player in 2019. Bidding against yourself, if you're the Astros, foolish. They should be reducing their offer, not contemplating raising it. If Scott Boras has a stalking horse out there at the $180 million or $2 billion range. If so, congratulations. Sign that contract. The Astros moved on. They're willing to 180, I guess, if Bregman takes the 6/156. I'm not going to say he's foolish to not take the 6/156, free choice, free agency, and all that. But if he feels he's being slighted or disrespected by that player or agent, get over yourselves, guys.
I'm with Charlie on this one. It's getting old. Let's make a decision here. I think the Astros offer is what it is. And especially Dana Brown in that press conference, like, yeah, I probably owe Scott Boras a text or a call back. That just tells you Dana's like, what is there to talk about, Scott? The offer is the offer. Either you want to play here or you don't. We know from Jim Crane's past that with Correa, the offer was kind of the offer and they kept coming back. And Crane was like, no, that's the offer. And it's a fair offer. It just feels like they're trying to shake the Astros down for a couple $1 million here. But I don't think he wants to go to Toronto or some of the other options. We've heard the Cubs, the Red Sox, they don't want to give him a long-term deal. So what are we really talking about? Especially as an Astros fan, you're starting to get a little annoyed with Bregman. You're looking at Altuve over here who told Boras, get it done. I want to stay with the Astros. Now you have Altuve saying, I'll move positions to accommodate Bregman. And Breggy's still sitting out there with Boras screwing around, trying to shake him down for maybe an extra $5 million. You know they're not going to give him another year. They're not going to go to 7 years here. And then Boras is saying, oh, we can't take this deal from the Astros. It's a decline in salary. It's a pay cut per year if Bregman takes this deal. And it's like, Yeah, he's getting worse every year. He's in his 30s now. If you want 6 years, that's going to be the amount per year that we're going to offer. So this ain't working, Boris. You're not a Jedi trying to, tell us these aren't the droids you're looking for. This is the deal. Take it or leave it.
If the Astros are on their Schwinn, do they still make Schwinns? And Breggy Boris are on their Huffy, do they still make Huffies? And this is a game of chicken. The Astros have no reason to swerve, to use a word that we've used. They made a beyond fair offer, as it has turned out. They were ready to cut bait and did, signing Christian Walker, the Tucker Paredes trade. So why would they say, okay, we'll give you what we'd offered and more when there is no market to justify that from the Astros perspective? I mean, all's fair in negotiation and the art of the deal. Boris has some experience losing the last year. He can deal.
Yeah, I'm on the other side of Heyman on this. I think the longer this goes on, the Astros are less likely the landing spot, in my opinion. And just going back to your point, Dana Brown said he owes Boris a call, but we have to assume that's because if the answer isn't yes, they really aren't interested in talking. You know what the offer is. If there was a better offer available, he'd have taken it by now, you would think. And if he was truly interested in being an Astro, he has a competitive offer on the table, if not the best offer on the table. If he hasn't said yet, yes, this late in the process, why would anyone think that he prioritizes Houston? And if he's riding around on a Schwinn bike, at this point, I hope it's the Pee Wee Herman bike and Dana Brown can hit the ejector seat on it. Just a quick message. If you're a business owner and you'd like to help us to spread the word about your service or product, you can contact our friends on the sales team at houston.sportsmap.com/advertise. The link is also in our description. We've already seen that Dana Brown does not let the grass grow under his feet. He's playing guts poker at a high level. Reports are now that he is interested in Jorge Polanco. Do you think this is Dana Brown answering the Boris Bregman game of chicken here, and they're using the Astros name out in the public to try to muster up more money in years for Bregman, so he's going to use Jorge Polanco? Or is he actually a better answer short-term for Houston, since the money and years make him a far less risk towards the long-term health of the team?
Well, if I'm Boris and Bregman and the Astros are floating, hey, we have the Jorge Polanco option. If I'm Boris and Bregman, I'm going, yeah, good luck with that. You signed a guy coming off patella tendon surgery who had an OPS 5 points higher than Jake Myers last season and a batting average 6 points lower than Jake Myers last season. If that's where you want to cast your lot, good luck to you. And then he can go with that ABC after Alex Bregman championship. And if you're running away from leadership and greatness, blah, 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 blah. But Polanco would be cheap. Right? The Astros could wedge him in underneath the first collective bargaining tax. He was a very solid offensive player for 3 years running, basically. Polanco, though he missed half of 2023 injured as well. 2023, Jorge Polanco was as good as 2024 Alex Bregman offensively. So was 2021 Polanco and 2022 Polanco. So on the cheap, the Astros had hoped for a healthy rebound. He would be getting out of Seattle, maybe the best pitcher's park in baseball. Mariners offensive players, most of them stink, but they're not quite as bad as their statistics would suggest, just as all their pitching, which overall, starting rotation, tremendous, but not quite as great as the statistics on the surface would indicate because of the ballpark environment. But Polanco would be a cheap fit in for a little second base, right? Altuve is your second baseman if Bregman's not coming back, but Altuve should not be playing second base 145 times per year. Polanco can also play some third base. And for his career, right, 2024 didn't hit anybody. But for his career, he's a bit better left-handed hitter, switch hitter, than a right-handed hitter. And we know the Astros have that gaping need for another left-handed bat to take some ABs, since Yordan Alvarez is the only regular right now who swings from the left side in their lineup. Caratini as a switch hitter, Singleton, the bench guys, the only other left-handed options.
I think part of it is they do need a left-handed bat. And Dana Brown said that at the press conference. He said it was sort of a priority. I think I'm correcting him or quoting him correctly there. Sort of a priority. Those two words don't go together so much, but I know what he's getting at. Some of the good things about Polanco, 11 of his 16 home runs happened over the final 63 games of the year. There's some thoughts that maybe the knee issue was why he didn't have as good of a season last year. And that all may be true. I just find it odd. We're looking for another infielder to play left field. Just like it's very curious what they're doing here. I get it. It's not a robust market with outfielders right now, especially ones that can swing the bat from the left side of the plate. But I do think it is part of leverage, Brandon, that they're like, if you don't want to do this, we can pivot over here. It's not as long-term a deal. We can get out of it. We can find another replacement. And who knows? There are some guys that could show up, and DeZenzo, or there's some guys that could surprise the Astros. Maybe one of these young guys could show up and do something. And if that's the case, then you might rather have Polanco on a 1-year deal, and then you could just say goodbye to him in the offseason if you had the position filled. So I'll be curious to see, but it just feels like posturing. And I think a deal, I'm with you, Brand. I think it would have happened by now. I think they're just using the Astros as leverage to find money somewhere else. But I think it's like the Blue Jays or somewhere Bregman doesn't want to go, where maybe the money is in the ballpark of what they want. And they're just trying to get another team to match that so Bregman can go to a ball club where he thinks he can win.
Jorge Polanco, a one-time All-Star. Coincidentally, the same season Alex Bregman was last an All-Star, 2019.
It's been a minute.
I don't love the idea of a Polanco deal other than a stopgap to bridge to next year when all the dead money falls off. I get the idea of having a left-handed bat, but you'd assume you'd want that bat to actually hit. And Charlie, going back to your point on Boris, I think where we are right now is what comes after A and B, maybe Canada. We did get a little fallout from the Ryan Presley trade, so I wanted to get into that with you guys. Some interesting quotes came out in the wake of that move. Presley said his decision to waive his no-trade clause for the Cubs was because he wanted another opportunity to be a closer. That's understandable, and we kind of figured that would be one of the levers here. Dana Brown told the media that his relationship with Presley changed after he informed Ryan last year that he'd no longer be the closer on the team following the Hader move. One of the things that we've heard about Brown and witnessed is that he's very candid. So I won't call this airing dirty laundry per se, but are you guys at least a little surprised that Brown would say that to the media and be that transparent? Do you think maybe he overshared a little bit?
I don't think he overshared because what's done is done. Mildly surprising, I suppose, that you go beyond the typically false claim. We wish him nothing but the best. No, if you trade a guy, frankly, you hope he goes and fails so the trade looks better for you. Presley gets that opportunity to close again. And if he wants to play beyond 2025, he turns 37 end of the year, closing a chance to maybe rehabilitate a little bit of value if he settles back into the role in which he performed very well here for years before having it stripped away from him. And so, it wasn't a personal rejection, but they grew enamored with Hader, not so much as a slap in the face to Presley, but to deepen the bullpen. And in the pecking order, when you pay a guy $95 million over 5 years, he wasn't coming here to be the eighth inning guy. Just as when the Yankees way back when traded for Alex Rodriguez, they weren't traded for him to come replace Derek Jeter at shortstop. A-Rod had to accept that. Well, Presley for 1 year had to accept the inverse, the new guy coming in to replace him in the glamorous closer's role. And the family connections here and kids in school and all the real life stuff, get that. But he gets to go close. And you know what? The Cubs have as good a chance of winning the National League Central as the Astros do the American League West. So it's not as if he had to take a trade to a team with no chance to contend. He has Kyle Tucker there, and well, who knows? Maybe, just maybe, he'll have Alex Bregman there too.
Yeah, it's interesting that we heard reports that when this went down and, Espada told the guys what the new roles were going to be, that Presley was handling it like a professional. Sounds like he did, but clearly it bothered him. And some of it was justified because he did get demoted for really no reason. They just wanted to add somebody else. It wasn't performance-based. And if you look at how last season went, Hader was worse than Presley. Presley's ERA was significantly better. And I wonder privately inside Presley's mind, as bad as he was in that Tigers game where the Astros got eliminated at the end of the year, Hader came in was even worse. Like that's when the game really got blown up and out of proportion, when Hader comes in, gives up that hit that clears the bases. So I'm sure part of Presley was, of course, he wants his team to win, but when somebody's brought in to replace you and they are worse than you, I bet you feel a little bit justified. I'm sure that went through his mind, and now he's going to get another chance to close. And then if he has a decent year, he hits free agency and gets some more money. But it makes you wonder, was that really the right move? Especially if Hader comes out this year and performs like he did last year. I'm already not happy with the contract, but it's officially a disaster if Hader's not any better this year.
Yeah, I'm a big Ryan Presley fan. Obviously, I wish him nothing but the best. Not against Houston, obviously, but from Presley's standpoint, I really wish that his response last season would have been to shove. And given Josh Hader's season, he had the opportunity to really make the team look silly. But Presley's season played out the way it did, and he gave the team an easy decision by underperforming his deal. It's didn't make the Hader deal look any better, to your point, Josh, but it made Houston look like they at least had the right idea and moving away from Presley in that closer role. As for Dana, I prefer keeping stuff like that behind closed doors out of respect for Presley, a guy who's done so much for the team. I don't think it's egregious. I don't think it's oversharing necessarily. I think he was honest. And as media members, we all want transparency, but this won't be the last time that I speak out of both sides of my mouth. Any final thoughts before we're out the door on this episode, guys?
Well, we'll tease through the weekend. Boy, the Astros farm system still stinks.
That's true. So we'll get to that next week, and hopefully we'll have some movement on this Bregman stuff. But I'm almost to the point where the Astros draw the line with this. I mean, is this going to go all the way up to spring training? You know, it's not that far away. Like, are they eventually going to draw a line in the sand and be like, either take the deal or don't? They got to kind of figure out what they want to do. I know it's Bregman, but that's the offer. Either you want it or you don't. I just wonder if it's like, when is it too late? Or the Astros are just going to be like, we're over this. Like, you missed your window.
And let's throw in the component. If it drags to the near opening of spring training, which we're rapidly closing in on, inside 2 weeks to pitchers and catchers, inside 3 weeks to full squad. Let's remember, if Alex Bregman takes 6 years, $156 million, if the Astros give him that still, or he gets similar or even more elsewhere, Alex Bregman, he of the chronically sucky starts to his season. How do you think that would play here if the Astros cave is probably not the right word, but acquiesce and say, okay, here's your 156, and Alex Bregman is a baseball bum the first 6 weeks of the season as he was in 2024.
That's a good point. We'll leave it there. That's it for this episode of Stone Cold Stros. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to click like on the video. And if you listen on podcast on places like Apple or Spotify, do us a solid. Give us a 5-star rating. Charlie, Josh, and I will catch you on Monday for continued off-season coverage. And make sure you're subscribed to this channel, Sports Map Houston, and our other channel, Sports Map Texans, as we'll be covering Texans draft and off-season moves there, free agency. So make sure you're following us over on that channel as well. Thanks for listening. For Charlie, Josh, until next time, go Stros.